Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I now rise on this occasion to present for the second reading of the bill, the Non-Government Organizations Amendment Bill 2021. And this bill has had its first reading on the 4th of March 2021. Again, it is in the same vein that I outlined in my presentation with respect to the miscellaneous financial amendments bill, and they are also in keeping with ensuring our legislation with respect to the NGO community is up to date and that it meets the scrutiny of the CFATF and other interested stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, the FATF and by extension the regional arm of that body, that is the CFATF, are concerned that no entities or corporate vehicles are exploited as vehicles for money laundering, terrorist financing, or for the financing of the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The danger of this, Mr. Speaker, has been demonstrated through the manipulation of charitable organizations to fund the activities of terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda. It has been said, Mr. Speaker, that charities provide an outlet not only for raising significant amounts of money, but even more critically, they can become ideal vehicles for laundering and transferring those and other funds. Many charities may not only serve as the perfect cover for terrorist operatives they employ by sending the funds through recipient service organizations, they offer simple and extremely secure means of money laundering and shielding the ultimate end users from scrutiny. While we recognize that traditionally the OECS sub-region presents a low threat for such activity, we nonetheless recognize that we have to take precautionary steps. And it is therefore incumbent upon us as a law-abiding democratic state to provide appropriate measures to reduce the likelihood of this happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, we have a number of charities, some appropriately licensed by the Financial Service Regulatory Commission, and some appear in name. And that is a matter, of course, that we will have to address. What is a bona fide charity? Could anyone just get up one day and say, I have a charity called X Foundation, and they begin to solicit monies in the name of the so-called unlicensed charity? This, of course, is part of the danger in the financial space. And as we ensure that, for example, a company must meet certain targets, that you could only use certain descriptors in the name of a company, we have to ensure that in our space, any entity proposing to be a charity is really a bona fide one. Mr. Speaker, in this connection, the amendment brought before us today seeks to close the gaps in the net of our financial services and our national security framework. Mr. Speaker, the proposed amendment before us is a very small one that seeks to clarify the ambit of the existing Non-Government Organizations Act, or the NGO Act for short form. The Act, in essence, seeks to provide an appropriate umbrella under which some charitable activities of civil society can officially function. The Act is a federal one, and it therefore extends to charitable entities residing in Nevis. What is not absolutely clear in the existing legislation, however, is that the Act is intended to cover not-for-profit organizations. And in that connection, Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to make this small but important and necessary adjustment to the Act as is reflected in clauses 3 and 4. Clause 5 of the bill seeks to make a consequential amendment to make it clear that the processing of international requests for mutual legal assistance that pertain to NGOs should be first passed through the auspices of the Attorney General's chambers as the central authority for receiving such requests before they are passed to the Registrar of NGOs. In a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, this is really the hub of the bill, Mr. Speaker. A tidying up exercise, making sure that with the new knowledge, the revised expectations of the international authoritative branches, that our legislation can be effective to do what is intended to do to ensure compliance and the highest level of international good governance. May it please you, Mr. Speaker,